All right. Well, a couple minutes late here. What do we got?
Do you have a hard
6:04.
copy of the agenda? I forgot my computer.
There should be one right
Oh,
underneath.
right on. Thank you.
Anything for the citizens forum? Okay, moving right along, we'll go on to the board committees. Policy committee. Did we meet?
Yes.
Okay. Was I there?
Yes, you were.
I remember it now.
It's so exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was mainly the handbook. And
Oh, yeah,
we
yeah.
got the pretty much post-final draft, and so now we just have the assignment of reading through and looking for typos and missed anything major that's missed. I think, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that was the main one.
Next month, we need to start working on the actual policies, and we'll start with the mandated and any legal changes that are defined on.
Yeah. So moving forward.
It'd be nice to get the handbook finally done.
I think there's a lot of work done by some staff, so I really appreciate that.
Mhm.
It's good.
Yep, and committee members. Sometime too, so.
Yeah, we had a few marathon meetings for a while there. Okay, school force committee.
Sure. Corinne, I'm going to ask for a little backup on this, but we finally established an $11,921 balance, which I think was the big moment in the school board. It's been a long time. You and Reed and Crystal all working together for a couple months to get that number finally hashed out. So, I mean, I think we're all nodding their head as of the 11th of March, we are $11,921 solvent. And I think the school agrees on that, and I think if anybody's asking why I'm even bringing that up, there was just a lot of gray area between what went into the general fund and what went into the school forest, and, you know, what came out of the general fund and what came out of the school forest. And so I think we have a starting point and hopefully have a pattern that to be established so that we'll know what that number is from here on forward. Otherwise, I think we already covered, yeah, the school ski. We talked, here's another, not a contentious issue, but one that keeps coming up, the school forest. When we talk about planting trees around the school, there's always the question mark, and it takes up a lot of time at our school forest meetings. It's about, oh, speak of the devil. Yeah, they were asking about you, they were worried. Where the trees get planted and whose responsibility it is. You know, for some reason, it makes sense that the school forest would talk about that, but at the same time, it is just school forest that we can decide where we plant trees and what we're gonna do. So if, for instance, the subject came up this time about planting them on the back of the baseball field, trying to get a green background and maybe a little bit of a windbreak, something, you know, an aesthetic out there, not really our call on that. And so we were just trying to figure out where we would go. We have the conduit because school forest has the ability to get trees, but where they get planted really isn't our decision. So we don't mind taking that on. You know, everybody likes a little more power than they deserve, but if there's a discussion that wants to go out there on that, that's been out there a couple times. Is that a fair assessment? Well, hearing none. Woody, opinion on that? Where would you like to see some trees planted, that kind of thing?
I think out there by the baseball time would be great.
Okay.
That'd be my idea, like, again, say, windbreak, number one, back, or, you know, dark background, number two. There's a lot of pros for it.
Shade.
Someday.
Yeah, I think your windbreak idea could even be expanded too. I mean, windbreak on the north side of the whole school would probably not be a bad idea.
Yeah, and in the long run, I mean, that's the other thing, is setting up a plan and saying, okay, so we don't have to revisit it every year. This is where we'd like to go and with what kind of trees, you know, that's another.
Yep.
And then there's always a cost involved every time you say that. So that's why the school forest sort of steps back and says, all right, are we going to put, how much money does it cost to plant trees around the backside of the baseball diamond? That's always a question, you know, and who's going to fund that?
And where are we going to plant them? And I think that
And as, like Tim said, the school forest committee, I think, was more willing to help drive it and get the trees and everything like that. And try to find the planters and all that. I think we can go do that all through the school forest, but it would be, where on the property are we planting them? We don't want to step into buildings and grounds or the school itself, you know. There's some, I've heard making a circle all the way around all the ball diamonds out there completely, so we're blocking on the JV field that faces this way, we block all the wind from that ball field and collect the snow, and all the snow wouldn't be sitting up there at the dugouts every year to melt out, you know, and basically putting a snow fence all the way around the ball diamonds.
But in similar fashion, we had that suggestion about doing that with the playground. And just realized there were security issues, you know, and that's once again, not the school forest judgment about, okay, we plant them here and that's a bad decision. You know, so somewhere in there, we'd like to take advantage of the fact that trees are free and planting is being done by slave child labor, you know, the third graders. You know, so.
That was Representative Tim Lyon talking.
I didn't hear.
All right, well, something to consider, doesn't have to be decided at all, but just so you know, we're talking about it. That's about it for pertinent stuff there.
Finance Committee?
We met today, and Crystal presented some information about not only the budget software that she has, but also some long-range financial planning that's included in that. Showed us a little bit of that, and that was interesting. So.
And for the budget report, we're still just right on track, going well. So there's not much to really report there. We're keeping within budget so far for this year.
Is that unusual to be this late in the school year and still be right on budget? I mean, would we have been, it is March.
No, it's good man. I shouldn't say that, something will come up.
Yeah, be careful.
But when we deficit spend, we've done it consciously like 2 years ago. But I'm thinking that 3 or 4 years ago, or even more than that, things would slowly just get out of whack as the year would go on, right? I mean, each report was, okay, we're $35,000, probably gonna be out of it this, oh, now we're 50,000, and all of a sudden it's 175 or whatever the number, and then you just have to take, you know, the general fund money and say, all right, let's try to correct next year, so.
No, I think Crystal's doing a good job of keeping everyone on budget. I mean, that's why you have a budget, it's a guideline, and you don't spend it unless you have to, and if it's not budgeted, you really try not to.
Avoiding surprises if at all possible
Yeah,
too,
so
that
it's
helps.
planned.
I can also add that if you involve your department directors in the budget, that really helps, and I think Crystal's done that as well, that she's visited with them and talked to them about the expectation that they need to meet their budget. I think that really helps as well.
She knows how to say no.
Well, and when you prepare your budget too, if you can get everything in there that, you know, that you possibly can foresee, you know. There's always things that come up. So.
As opposed to maybe in years past, you just let the superintendent be the person you talk to and not really visiting with the administrative heads?
That might have happened in the past a little bit, or the business office manager, or, you know, based it on last year instead of, you know, really going forward and doing a plan for the next year.
Anything else? I think we covered it, right? Okay. To world's best workforce. Mr. Nelson.
Well, I put it up in the committee here because I want the people that attended the meeting to speak up if they have anything you want to say about the process. I did send out the summary report is in your board packet, and it's a lot of information in it. Is there any questions on what was sent out and what's in the board packet as far as?
No, I'm going to defend those who aren't speaking up right away, because that information has been condensed down quite a bit from what we actually sat here and looked at for the first two meetings. And that's what we sort of arrived at, what you got in your board packet, what we felt was important to see and what was digestible to see, because there was so much in there. I mean, I'm not claiming to understand probably 50% of what was put in front of me. Brian and Jeff and that crowd, I mean, they understood the test scores, they understood the data that was being put in front of us way better. But I think that what you're seeing is trying just to put a parallel to our demographics and then our test scores, and so we understand the whole basis of what's happening at Lake of the Woods in terms of our educational process. And it's pretty general, but at the same time, the numbers, if you sit and read it once, they kind of go right over your head, and then if you sit and read it a second time, you go, oh, that's kind of an interesting little, you know what I mean? It's actually pretty unique reading if you start looking at a lot of the demographics and start lining them up with our third grade test scores, for instance. You know, I'll give you an idea what the long range outcome could be or should be. And we have that discussion every time we come in with these test scores, and I don't have it in front of me. But there's so many outliers that skew our numbers because we're such a small school district that you'll see a lot of herky-jerky instead of a nice sine curve or whatever it is, you know, sort of going through all those grade levels where you can assign a certain capability to a grade level, but then all of a sudden it falls off the edge of the earth. There are certain test scores in there that got changed within the testing itself got changed within the last 5-6 years, so you're now testing kids differently. Really hard for us to get a grasp on what we are capable of doing and what we should be capable of doing just based on all those numbers. You just have to read so much into that that's gray area, not so much specific to the test. But
just some of the things that we're focusing on based on data and all this stuff is, one thing is our math scores. That is an area that has needed our attention for some time. We've started a new math curriculum already in the high school, and we're piloting the same program in 6th grade. And then I just had a group of teachers that came back from, they went to Grand Rapids and then they went to East Grand Forks and looked at 2 different curriculums that we've identified actually in action being implemented within those districts. And we'll be meeting, I don't remember if it's this week or next week, finishing the process of coming back to the board and recommending what new math curriculum we'll be using for the elementary.
Didn't we just switch last year?
That was
high
second
school.
That was high school only? I thought that was also for
6th grade.
6th grade.
6th grade,
Just
okay.
6th grade, yeah. Actually, we've been using Saxon math in the elementary since 2007. So that's one of our issues, is staying more current with our curriculum. And then our next step is to start looking at our reading and language arts in the elementary, and getting those reading scores up.
Yeah, Jeff and I talked about this a little bit before even the finance meeting. I guess I'd like to see a breakdown between boys and girls and get some more, I mean, let's really use the data we have. And I guess I also call into question some of the MC8 test. I don't know what those of you who have kids in the system. I know a couple of mine have scored poorly on the MCA, but then they're getting straight A's in the class and they're doing well, and and it's obvious to me that they understand math, but yet whatever. I mean, this is a one-off test, so I mean, if the kids don't quite get it when they're in 3rd, 4th grade or whatever, or if it's something they hadn't quite seen yet, or what the deal is, but I don't know. I guess it's a little confusing as to why the data says one thing. I'd be interested to see the teachers' take on, compare it to class grades, and do they match? And I mean, so I'd like to see that kind of data compared. I mean, then we'd really get, I think we'd get a much better feel of how we're doing. I mean, Jeff and I were talking about that. It's like, okay, here's our MCA scores, and they're not the greatest. But yet we have all these kids going off to college and doing really well, and them coming back and saying that, yes, we've been prepared, and I mean, I'm sure there's obviously always room for improvement, but there's also tells me there's some kind of a disconnect going on between the MCA and reality. So.
Is that a theme that other schools have? I mean, is that a common complaint with the
Yeah,
MCAs?
I think the whole high stakes testing is, in general, educational professionals most don't really support it because you're putting all your eggs in one basket. So
Yeah,
there's
it
so
seems
much
like I've
more for
heard that.
kids with programs and activities, and kids can't always demonstrate what they know and how well they know it on a paper pencil test or on an electronic test. Sometimes they have to show you. And the state isn't very good on measuring that on a standardized across the state of Minnesota basis. That's where you get into the classroom stuff is,
Yep.
you know, teachers, a lot of times kids can blow a test and they'll say, well, I know you know how to do this. Show me. And they'll give them something different to do that demonstrates mastery of that skill, but it's not on a paper pencil test. They might demonstrate something or they might make something. And also that we don't measure that doesn't come in the MCA.
That comes in the classroom score.
That comes in the classroom score. And looking at the standards and doing a rubrics rating on how well they actually know it, what level are they at as far as proficiency. But it is something that the state uses a lot, and it's something that we write grants and plans for. And the MCA is more of how well is the district teaching the kids to the standards to be successful on the test. Is what it's measuring. And we have some things that we can do better, but we have some things I think that we're doing well with.
Yeah.
And I'm very happy with the direction we're going. Can we get on top of our curriculum cycle? I think that's something that I'm working on in the elementary for sure. So I think a lot of it's, we just got to get some processes in place, procedures on making sure we stay with our curriculum cycle and update that. And what I like about the new math series that we're looking at is we're not just looking at the curriculum because it's just a tool, but we're looking at what company or what processes do they offer as far as professional development. Not every elementary teacher is a mathematics teacher necessarily. You know, they might have the basic skills, but there's some nuances there. So developing all of our teachers so that they are math teachers is something that takes time and training, and it's got to be job embedded. And the same thing I would say for reading too. So you can be a really good teacher in a lot of areas, but you can't be. Very few of them come with a full package, and it takes many years and support and training to get all this stuff. So.
Do we have, I don't know if they could still call it the pre-ACT or any of the,
PSAT. You get the PSAT
And a few years ago, they changed, instead of having the plan and an Explorer, they changed it to the ACT Aspire. And that's actually another key portion of this is, you know, you've got your local curriculum, you've got your statewide test, and then you have another test that is national based, such as ACT Aspire that we give 7th, 8th, and 9th, actually 8th, 9th, and 10th. So this is our second year of giving that Aspire test.
and do we get the data, the results?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep,
Does that
and
be another
actually
one?
any students that take it, the data is mailed home and then teachers have access to.
How have we been looking with that?
Doing really well. Actually, in math this year, we actually jumped up quite a few points.
Good.
And we just wrote that into our West workforce.
Yep. So, yeah, you kind of have to take a look at a variety of different things. You know, the MCAs is a one-day snapshot and yeah. So looking at incentives for students to do better, wanting to do better is also key for the MCAs.
Do all the kids take the Aspire test?
Yes.
Or is it by choice?
No, we
Okay.
have them take it.
Okay.
Yep.
Good.
I also included in your practice there isn't any questions on the world's best workforce. If you ever want to come and sit down and ask questions on data, I'm always there. I also put in information on our achievement integration plan that technically needs to get approved by the board tonight so we can fill out the signature page. But that's already been submitted. Out of the 3 goal areas, there's 4 things that we put into our plan. Bringing in a part-time math support staff person to help support our transition with the new math series. And we're kind of expanding that up into 7th and 8th grade. And that might be a combined position with a title math position. And I can get more into the weeds with how that has to be separated. Title I fund is federal fund, and it's on targeted services, so we have to be very specific who gets the services, what students we're serving. So we gotta kind of keep that separate. But with the achievement integration, it's all kids, and we don't have to worry so much about targeting. We'll have ways of identifying kids that need the extra support. But there's more flexibility with that piece of that position, just because of the funding stipulations. Beyond the Bell program will be an after-school program where we bring in some teachers to help kids on academics. And so if they're struggling in class, we have teachers that they can meet with in the library after school. So we'll fund some of that with this money. We're bringing.
Is it all grade levels?
6 through
12.
6 through 12.
Can I interject one?
Sure.
Another aspect of that?
Yep.
I guess it's kind of my brainchild for Beyond the Bell. What I'd also like to see are other programs. For example, you can do interactive presentations with the Smithsonian. You can do something with Cape Canaveral. You can do something with Johnson Space Center. You know, there's a variety of things you can do. You can contact or have an online webinar with the museum, the Science Museum down in the St. Paul area. So there's lots of different things that we can do. We can have it organized where you can have an enrichment once a week. Here's a special enrichment that we're going to have. So it'll be a kind of a variety of things that we can offer our students. I'd love to do something with aerospace. I'd love to do something with John D. Odegaard Center in Grand Forks and organize something so that, you know, the kids, as far as piloting and there's lots of different things we're looking at.
Yeah.
Thought I'd put that in.
Unless we stay within our budget.
Most of those are free.
Yes. Yep. So that's Beyond the Bell. That's going to be a great program. Thanks to Mr. Novak for bringing that in. The other strategy that we'll be using is culturally responsive social emotional learning program. And we're contracting with Peacemakers. And we've done some things in the past with social emotional learning and training for staff. We're actually going to have a teacher come in and work in the classroom with teachers and students throughout the year next year on some social emotional learning. Students, or teachers, I'm sorry. And then finally, we're doing some integration activities with Kellier and Norfolk. Mr. Novak will be spearheading that. They'll be doing some college and career visits and some overnight stays, and part of it is to get cultural diversity, having those kids spend some time to get to know each other and intermingle. It's not just going to visit Polaris or a college. It's more, you know, activities that get them to interact. What was one of them? The first one they're going down to was
Fort Ridgely.
Fort Ridgely. So there's like 4 trips we're planning. So that's basically what we're doing with our team integration, and it's roughly about $30,000.
What was the terminology used with Kellier? They are
Basically
something.
isolated school.
Okay. So does that mean?
Here, it's the opposite. Kellier has a high percentage of Native American students,
More than 20,
Okay,
more than
more
20%.
than 20%.
20%.
Where all the districts that align them don't have any diversity.
Okay,
80, 90% white. So that's that isolated school district.
okay.
And in some ways, we're kind of isolated too.
That's the way I thought, but the way the terminology was going, it was a little confusing as to who was isolated or
Yes.
what they were calling isolated. So those are 4 overnight trips. Now, is that going to be everybody going?
It's-
Pretty sure I read that it was looking at 4 overnight trips,
Yep.
wasn't it? Yep.
It's open to everyone, all
Yeah.
students.
Well,
Is it 11?
the Ripley one is overnight. The one, the Grand Fork, or excuse me, the Polaris Marvin Windows, Kellier and Northland are gonna come over here and they're gonna stay overnight somewhere in whether it's Roseville. We're just gonna do the day trips.
Okay,
Yeah, so we'll send our students back and forth. We're not gonna stay overnight in Warren or Roseville.
okay.
And then another trip is gonna be down to University of North Dakota, and they're looking at another business down there to take the students through, and we're looking at probably doing Northland in there with Thief River, and then going to Grand Forks and doing a variety of things. So we're still working on it, we're still building it. The other overnight trip, they're looking at going to Evelyn. I can give you more details later.
Okay. Just curious.
Yeah.
So that's what I have for the World's Best Workforce. I know in the past I've always put up the screen and flashed up a whole bunch of data. Is that something the board would like that to be done formally, or is this format, what's the best use of our time as far as presenting the information?
I liked getting it in here because then I had time to really look at it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how beneficial or how helpful it is to throw up a bunch of pie charts and all the charts and the data at a public board meeting. I'm not sure how much. It was helpful at the committee meeting to get feedback from people that don't deal with it, that this is a lot of information. And
Right, like
how
us.
to,
I mean, like
how to
board
tone it
members.
down
Yeah.
so that it's usable and understandable and not overwhelming, because it can be, even for my meager brain, it can get overwhelming sometimes, the amount of data, and you start looking and asking questions. Usually you get more questions than answers, and you
Yep.
dig and dig and dig for different things, but if there's something different or you'd like to see something, please let me know, and I can try and put that together.
Again, I know, well, for me, and I drive you guys crazy with my data request, but I wouldn't mind seeing it split it out just between boys and girls as well, and then the way you were splitting out with free and reduced lunch, American Indian, there were some other ones in there, just to see, is there a trend, is there any variation whatsoever, or is that also wildly all over the place? I mean, when it's wildly all over the place, there's not much you can take away from it, but
Okay, now you're talking about the academics and also like enrollment in higher level courses, is that?
yeah, I mean, any of those, just to break it out. Are we doing a good job? Here are the numbers.
Yep.
We show that, yep, we're pretty darn, at least we're doing a good job of keeping everybody interested.
Okay, that I can get.
I guess, is anyone else in that? I mean, if I'm the only one who's interested in a breakdown like that, then we can maybe
I find
burst
all
down a
that
bit.
interesting. I mean, when we started dwelling on, you could see it on the disparity socially in terms of economics in
Yep.
Lake of the Woods County, it becomes really interesting.
Yep.
You know, you can really see what you're trying to educate. We hadn't talked at all about boys versus girls in there. And so,
Girls can tend to be, there's a disparity oftentimes with the higher math and the
I'm
sciences.
curious if there's a breakout between the boys with reading and the girls with math or anything that, are we going with that, or how is it going?
I think that's a very
Yeah.
legitimate.
Would you
request.
also like to see the ACT Aspire broken up?
Yeah, that'd be, I mean, with those three, now, the MCA, the academics, and that, I mean, wow, we should get, based off what I was reading on there, if we can kind of correlate those three, I think we'd get a very good picture of exactly how we're doing for our students in the school. So, because I think we're doing better than what the MCA indicates, but we need other evidence.
I do know we're kind of on track with statewide averages as far as, there tends to be a higher percentage of boys in special ed. Don't know why, but that's just kind of a trend. But we also have the fast bridge too in the elementary that we use for screening kids, so that would be something that I think I can break down by boys and girls as well.
Okay.
So,
The danger I see there is, so let's say, and we've all arrived at that, the MCA is not really a good reflection of what we're doing for education, but at the same time, you can't, that's the one that the state of Minnesota bases all its funding on, really,
Oh, yeah.
isn't it?
Yep.
So, I mean, it's a danger to say, all right, let's ignore that. We almost have to educate for that test. I mean, it seems to me
Yes.
that would be a,
But we also, in my way of thinking, it's like, okay, yes, you can teach towards the test, but the breakout with the academics and especially the other standardized tests will, in my mind, will give us a much better idea of how to focus that. I mean, if you end up seeing that, I don't know, for some reason we're losing boys in reading somewhere around 4th grade or 6th grade or something, or if we're losing girls in math around 7th grade, I mean, quite frankly, the MCA numbers are too wildly, I mean, it may be too small of a sample size to get a really good evidence to see, okay, maybe we need to tweak on this just a little bit or something like that.
yeah, and that is the thing that we're seeing with the MCA. It is kind of erratic.
Yeah.
we
So,
always use triangulation.
Yeah.
Try to find 3 different sources of data that are somewhat related.
or if over time we see that the kids are doing well in the elementary with math or vice versa, I mean, and then they get to the senior high and for some reason it drops off, it's like, okay, well, what's happening? Is it following a national trend? Is there something different? Is there something we can change? So,
Are they all working after school?
yeah,
You know?
yeah, or
I mean,
something like
real
that.
social ramifications.
Now, saying that and using all those statistics, I'll also point out that they say that 87.96% of all statistics are made up, so you have to use it with caution. Okay, I think, well, it was probably the main fault for that, beat that one to death. Reed, what do you got for transportation, buildings, and grounds? Or anyone on the committee, including myself?
Or Mr. Nelson.
Or Mr. Nelson, that's
Well,
right.
What I
it says
did with the
him.
board meetings is, if I was gonna present something like the summary report for West West Workforce, it seems kind of ridiculous for the committee to mention it and then for me to do my report. So I think in the future, 'cause it's a team effort, and it makes sense, I think, if there's reports like the budget report and the finance committee reports, but it just makes sense for, at the same time, that Crystal pipe in, and this is what we talked about. So that's why I set it up a little bit different this time. I think the biggest thing for transportation, buildings and grounds, other than the trees around the baseball fields, would be filling Mr. McFarland's position. We've sent out several job descriptions, and I have tweaked them a little bit. I got feedback from some board members, and I think I shared that with everyone. I have a couple ads ready to send out. I'm looking for my
I handed one of them back to you, right before we.
Yeah, the one thing I did change, just tonight, was, on some of the desired qualifications, I took out the bachelor's degree and restated it as post-secondary education and or experience in business management related fields. So it's a little more flexible as far as education rather than trying to look for someone with a 4-year degree. That would be ideal, but the scope of the positions may not support financially a 4-year degree necessarily.
You haven't put those out yet for consumption anywhere, other than to the board members? They haven't been,
Just the transportation committee and the board members, and it wasn't in the, I don't think it was in the board packet.
okay.
But I think we'll be posting those, we can post those anytime.
And that's your hope, is to post them as soon as tomorrow? I mean,
Yes.
if you get time to do it, or?
Yes, here I found my thing. Just a couple reminders with the position. I think we met, and it was the Buildings and Grounds and Transportation Committee, which is made up of Tim, Boyd, and Lynette, looking at how we want to fill Reed's position as best we can. One of the things that I always feel that in a small district, when you have someone retire or leave, I always feel it's important that you look within and look for ways to absorb positions or duties and maybe shuffle things around to make it more efficient. Hopefully save a few bucks, but also make sure that the needs of the students and the staff in the district are still met. We're doing that with Mrs. Nelson's retirement, Title I. Can we absorb that retirement? And we're looking at some different class sizes. I just think that's due diligence when we have something like someone leaving a position. Are we gonna be able to fill Reed's position with someone just like Reed? I don't think we're gonna be that lucky, but if he lives close by, we can use him as a resource. So he said he's gonna take me fishing next winter, so I can really tweak his brain. But one of the things we talked about is trying to attract people that would be interested in that position, capable. Reed and I both feel it'd be very difficult to find someone. I'm not gonna say it's impossible. Find someone that would be able to take on the combined position of transportation and buildings and grounds. So that's why, after discussion at that committee meeting, we are gonna recommend that we advertise it as 2 separate positions. Granted, they're not each full-time administrative positions. The transportation supervisor would most likely be paired with a bus driver position. So they're not both 8-hour positions, even though that's probably what we put in for them. Same thing with the buildings and grounds supervisor, that would be paired with a 4-hour custodial position as well, to make it a full-time position. And if we put this out there, we might get someone that, when we start looking at applicants, someone might apply for both of them. Or we might look at what they have and say, well, this could possibly be another Reed McFarland that could do both. So that's why we decided to kind of split the 2 positions. I'm recommending that we post it internally for a week and see if we have anyone in-house that would be interested and able, and if it would make sense to combine certain positions. We can consider that, and after next Tuesday, we can decide if we offer both positions, put them both out for posting, or if we want to fill within one and then just post for the other one. Or we might decide we want to post for one position and combine it again and pull that up. But I'd like to look internally for at least a week and see if there's a combination or something that we can do with either one of these positions internally to be more efficient and have some cost saving. Any thoughts on that? Questions, concerns?
So that's how, when you say making it 2 positions, it will not be just transportation supervisor, there will be that.
It's gonna be combined with something,
With
whether it's
something else, yeah.
transportation head cook or transportation, whatever, bus driver. We're not big enough to
Make those
make
their own.
those into 2 standalone positions, so they're gonna be combined with other duties.
Smaller schools already see that already, don't they? I mean, that's a combined position in other districts.
All your smaller schools are doing at least transportation supervisor, driver to a certain point.
I think a lot of them have, and correct me if I'm wrong, the supervisor is also usually a mechanic too, it sounds like in some of these.
Supervisor mechanic
Yep.
or something like that. There's just the supervision part of the transportation in a school our size doesn't justify an 8-hour person. But it would justify an 8-hour person if they became the mechanic, they became another bus driver, they became another position in the school, so you combine it, so.
We have to look at what staff we have in certain places and what we need for the transportation supervisor. You know, where you have a mechanic, so we have kind of piecemeal things together. That's my recommendation, unless the board would like to go a different direction.
I think Jeff said it right when he said that just because you put it out there and somebody comes in and wants to do facilities or transportation, maybe they won't want to come in and say, you know what, I'll take that, and I'll take an administrative job for both departments. You know, and I think that should be a question in your interview process. Yes, would you be open to more? You know, matter of fact, you're going to get more. It's how much more do you want?
So a lot of flexibility moving forward is kind of what you're looking for as far as.
Best we can.
See how the pieces fit together by who we hire, or a candidate that's eligible.
Somebody told me that anyone that would do both those jobs would be crazy, so I don't know. Someone said yes, I'm not sure.
What did you say, there are 12 of you, 12 creatures like you in the state right now?
For doing that, for the two
Both.
positions, yeah.
Any other questions on that? So just to be clear, it's not, they're not two full-time separate positions, it has to be combined, because we're just.
Okay, anything else? We'll dovetail right into your report.
Okay, so we don't have an enrollment committee, so I'll do that separately. District-wide, we're down 4 for the month, and we're down 7 for the year to date. Elementary dropped 1 this last month, and we're down 5 for the year. And high school dropped 3 this last month, but we're down 2 for the year. Minnesota student survey, the letter went out, I'm gonna forget the date, probably 2.5 weeks ago. The letter went out to parents, the students in 5th, 8th, 9th, and 11th. Letting them know what the Minnesota student survey was and what steps they could take to review the questions and ensuring that it is an opt-out, so the parents can opt their students out, and I think when they take the survey, the students can opt out at that time also. So it's not a forced thing, they can opt out. But that will be taking place, the window's next week. And then my last thing I have is strategic planning update. I don't have it on your agenda, I don't think. You might want to add that on there. That's coming up real quick. I sent out an email today to some staff. March 16th, May 22nd, and May 23rd are the dates that we set for planning meetings. And this is where staff from MSBA would be.
Not March 16th.
What did I say? May 16th.
Okay.
I'm sorry, May 16th, the 22nd, and the 23rd. Part of the process is it'll be open to the whole public, but they recommend coming up with a list of people to formally send invitations to. Because you want to get as many people there as possible. For example, I think invitations will go out to all the community members that serve on the Northwest Workforce. I think that would be a good group. So what I'm looking for is feedback from staff and the school board on names or people that I should be putting on my list to formally invite to participate in those 3 evenings, and they run 6:30 to 9. A little nervous about those May nights right before graduation. It's gonna be really, really busy. I'm not sure how that's gonna work. We don't have any evening things planned other than getting ready for graduation, to your knowledge.
Well, senior class trip is May 9th and 10th.
Okay.
Then we have advanced placement tests like the first week.
Okay. As far as having the community event on those evenings, they roughly said it was 6:30 to 9. Does anyone have any objections to just staying with those dates, even though that's the last week with kids?
Has to be sometime, right?
Yep.
Gotta do it.
And then on May 15th is when they will be on site during the school day. And they want to meet with some like student council or student groups, and have some times to meet with staff during the day to get input, listening sessions, they call them. So that will be on the calendar for that. And then in June is when we actually put the board will approve the strategic plan. And then we'll implement it in July. And I'll get this in an organized outline format to send out to everyone. And Diane was gonna put it on the district calendar, so that's coming up quick. And I think that's all I have unless there's questions.
Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to high school principal.
Right, just a few items. The first thing, we've got the ACT practice test. We purchased what's called Minnesota Careers Information System, MCIS. And that offers students are able to take 3 full ACT tests. And they're all timed, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna have the juniors on Wednesday, just a couple days from now, have them take a full ACT test practice. Because one of the things we've got back from the students is they never get into it like the MCAs. It's not a time test. You can take your time, and but once they get into a time test, you got the jitters, you got the anxiety. So we want to get that set up so we can place our students in that role one time before they take the ACT test. So the practice test is Wednesday, and then they will take the district-wide ACT test. We'll offer that actually in this room for the juniors on Tuesday, April 2nd. And that will be at 8 o'clock in the morning. That'll run until about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Other things, numbers. I know last month I promised you I would have numbers for the classes. I'm meeting with some of my different department people on Wednesday of this week, and we're going to be able to fine tune some of the numbers a little bit more on which classes we're going to offer and which ones we're not. So I guess I'd much rather, unless you have specific questions right now, and I've got them right here, I can run through some basic ballpark numbers as far as the registration for classes. But I want to fine tune them a little bit more before I give them to you.
The only question I would have, is there anything that looks like it's going to be eliminated because of low numbers?
Not really. We have this freshman class right now, which is our largest class with about 47, 48 students. They're coming through, so they're actually driving the electives. So now you're inputting, 48 students into taking band and choir and wood tech and art classes, and we're making one change this year is that we're not offering carpentry this year, because we're going to offer we had so many students that wanted basic wood tech next year or last year. they want to have advanced wood tech. So they want to have their own full class of advanced wood tech. So next year we'll offer wood tech 101, and then we're going to offer advanced wood tech. So the students are going to be able to have 2 full classes instead of having a small class of carpentry. Advanced wood tech will have a class size of 20, and regular wood tech will have a class size of roughly about 18. Art classes look really good. It's always, from year to year, you're never quite sure of if 2D art is going to make it, or 3D art is going to make it, or advanced art. And we've had enough students that have had 1 to 2 classes of art throughout the last couple of years that they want their own class of advanced art. And then 2D has good numbers, and 3D has good numbers. And then 7th grade has an art class. They flip-flop a semester with Phi-Ed and art. Mathematics classes look good. College classes look really good. Statistics is one that might be a little shy of students, but when we sit down with students and say, all right, do you want to take statistics this year, or do you want to take pre-calc? Because it doesn't matter if you take it as a junior or take it as a senior. And some students will say, yeah, well, I mean, I'll move out of pre-calc and move into statistics instead. And so we can kind of balance numbers that way and offer different classes. So it's kind of a, with Mr. Nelson doing the scheduling for a number of years, it's kind of a, you kind of have to massage the schedule and sit down with the students, and that's what we did this last week, is that we were able to, during our interflex time, get the list of classes, sat down with 10th through 12th grade students and said, all right, what are your official plans? What do you want to take for sure? Because 2 weeks ago, they actually registered. And so now I have all the registered classes saying, no, I don't want to take band, I want to take art, or I want to take band and choir this year. So they're able to give me those numbers, so now I'm going to be able to go in and sit down with each sheet and update the students' requirements, and then I get a bigger and better picture of exactly what the students want. In a nutshell.
Thank you.
Polaris is going to be here tomorrow, so I just want to invite the board members. Polaris is going to be here for a careers presentation. They want us to talk to all the students in grades 10 through 12 about opportunities across the board with Polaris. They're getting into boats now, and there's Polaris is just expanding. And I think did they get into campers here too recently?
For that.
Okay, but boats for sure, motorcycles, all the ATVs, the side-by-sides. So Polaris is really expanding, and they're looking for workers. And everything from, they're looking for job skills and job sets from a variety of students. So they're going to be here tomorrow from 9 o'clock till about 9:30 and talk to the students. And then welding. We are not planning on offering online welding next year. I want to go a different direction. I've talked to Mr. Nelson about this, and right now I'm working with a guy by the name of Nick Girulli, who used to be the teacher, the welding teacher over at Roseau, and we're coming up with an idea that if we brought welding back, what kind of equipment, what kind of expense are we looking at? So we're working together and coming up with just a little price quote on what would it cost our school. We've got the room, we've got 2-phase and 3-phase electricity in there. We might have to update our air handling system we've got probably 6-inch piping coming down for airflow. We might have to go a little bit bigger conduit or plenum. There's some different things before we jump into it. I want to get some answers. We're working with a couple of different welding companies. I'm looking at some different grants. I'm looking at some different things that we can do to bring welding back to our school. At least get it off the ground and have hands-on welding here for maybe 1 class a day, just for beginners, and just keep it going on. So I'm still getting the pieces together. Hopefully with the next week, 2 weeks, I'll be able to get that to Mr. Nelson, and then I can, with his approval, I can bring it to the board and kind of maybe take a look at some things that we could do, so. We're not offering
On
online.
site.
We're gonna go and do I wanna do the hands-on welding course here at our school. And yes, I'm looking at the dollars, and I'm looking at all the different things that, everything from, I have Ryan Semick with Minnesota Foundations, we're looking at money from them. I'm looking at maybe some Northwest manufacturers, I'm looking at Polaris, I'm looking at a variety of places that we could, by chance, get a cash flow. So I'll just kind of leave it at that for right now.
What's in the room that used to be used for welding right now?
The old school welding stuff where custodians that take care of welding and.
I mean, the venting was always there to begin with, right?
That's as far as they got with the welding class when they brought it over from the old school. They brought a couple of welders and they put did some duct work in there for welding. And that's basically all the further they got in there.
But there was some welding done in there.
Not
My employees.
No, but there was a community ed program in there, wasn't there?
The only welding that I'm aware of is custodial and there was some personal welding.
Oh.
I don't think we ever had a class in there.
Well, that's exciting.
It is.
Something better than hands-on. Wasn't that you, Boyd, who said I wanted to see two pieces of metal stuck together by the time graduation showed up?
Yep. Don't know if it necessarily was looking for a full course on it, but I was thinking like just a shop class.
What you wish for would go back in the background.
Yeah.
You gotta be careful with him.
That's right.
That's good.
All right, anybody have questions?
Anything else? Okay, last but not least, how's the new bus?
Yeah, we got the new bus in. Dale's got all the cameras in it, and the radios are in it, and it's now in operation. Sure is neat to be in a bus that's a gas engine. This last year, things have changed a lot even from the time that we ordered the bus. This last year, 55% of the school buses sold were gas versus diesel. That crawled up from 20-some% 2-3 years ago. It's just, people are going that way with fewer problems and stuff. Tomorrow we'll find out how the camera system worked and how our recording is, because we're going to review today. So, yeah, everything's good with it. We just need to do a little bit of modification on one of the computers as far as the lights are on it to make sure they stay on a little longer at stops. Otherwise, we're good.
Just out of curiosity, what size engine's in it?
Well, I'm not sure it's about the same horsepower as the diesel.
Huh. Okay.
Which route's that going on?
It's on the town road, and the neat thing about it is the motor warms up, so that's one of the big problems with the diesels is they're made to run so cold, so the engines last longer, but then they don't heat up, and kids never did get heat. Now it's warmed when you're 3 miles down the road. Be a good thing.
Okay. Anyone got anything else before we close out the working session? Anything from Ted? All right. In that case, we'll close the working session. Anybody need a break? Okay. In that case, we'll go with, we'll adjourn the working session. We'll start the meeting at 7:03. It switched just as I saw it. That's it. Pledge
allegiance to the
flag
of the United States of America,
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alright. 7:03. 3, pledge allegiance, approval of the agenda. I need a motion to, with the addition of the following action items. Received communications from MCEA, AFSCME, and Minnesota Education with intent to negotiate. Also, approve lease agreement with Harmon Properties. Also, approve request from Superintendent Nelson to work as a watercraft inspector. Also, approve service contract with N Entertainment for 2019 prom DJ services. And also, a closed session labor negotiation strategy pursuant to MS 13.D.03 subdivision 1. Need a motion for all that.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion by Ellis, second by Lyon. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Need approval of the consent agenda. The consent agenda includes approval of the minutes, approval of invoices and statements, personnel resignations, retirements, and appointments. Approve resignation of Reed McFarland, Buildings and Grounds Transportation Supervisor. Approve hiring of Aaron, and you're gonna have to help me out with that.
French fryer.
Not what he said. Schwinsfire. High school English position. Approve hiring of Shaquille Solomon, junior high track. Approve agreement with Catherine Nordine, vocal music. Approve agreement with Joyce Washburn, one-act play. Need a motion for those items on the consent agenda.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Burcham,
I'll second.
second by Trask. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Do we have any board presenters? Going with none, moving on. Written communications, MSBA School Board Workshop information.
Was that in your packet? Okay. Any questions? Was that phase?
2, 3, and 4.
4.
Phase
3 and 4, I think.
Okay. You've been to phase 3 and 4. You've been to phase 3 and 4.
Have you?
Anyone else
No.
interested?
No, I don't think
I've been
I think
1
I
and
need
2.
3 and 4 as well.
Okay.
What were the dates on that again? Anybody remember off the top of their head?
24th was 3 and the
I know I was remembered looking at it and going, it's like, oh, I don't know if that's gonna work.
April.
April 3rd, for phase 3, March 22nd.
No. That's gotta be some, oh, I'm thinking of the Thief River ones.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're all right.
that doesn't match the email.
Well, these are the ones that we can still attend. St. Peter on April 3rd, St. Cloud is April 6th, Fergus Falls 23rd. 24th is Thief River.
These are all April?
Yeah, Thief River,
Obviously.
April 20, Wednesday, April 24th would be.
But they're the same day, I think, aren't they? Don't they do one in the morning and one in the afternoon?
No.
No.
Oh, they did
Phase,
before, didn't
phase
they?
3, yeah, is just on Wednesday, April 24th.
Oh, man.
And
We
then
did
there's
get
a,
Phase 4 is
We did
Thursday,
get that
April
that way.
11th.
We got
yeah,
3 and 4
in
on the
Thief River,
same
right?
In Thief River.
morning and
The
afternoon.
closest ones.
Yeah.
I'll have to take a closer look. I may go for the Fergus Falls one. So, but
Okay.
we can talk about that after the fact.
Okay,
You can keep it.
okay.
Anything else, Corinne?
No, I'd like to, I'm gonna try to go to, I don't know.
Something.
Yeah,
Pick one that works best for you.
okay.
Well, I think you have to do those sequentially, don't you? Or do you not? I don't know why you have to, but.
Well, they don't make it very, very easy when they have phase 4 on April 11th and phase 3 on April 24th.
I
In
believe they
River?
said you don't have to
You
do
don't
it
have
with
to,
those.
okay.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember. I just remember we did them on the same day.
Same day, yeah, that was just such a nice package.
It was kind of nice, because,
Both done.
you know,
All right, well, you got 2 of us interested in that. Item B, received communication from yeah, I'm in the right spot. MSEA, AFSCME, and Minnesota Education with intent to negotiate.
Just information,
That
it's
was
just a
a-
formality,
Statement of fact.
statement of fact.
Okay, moving along, old business. Anything? New business. And I think this is where I have a whole bunch, we've got a bunch of donations. Any other new business? I suppose not, we'll go with that. Yeah, let's go with that. Look and see which way we want to, okay. Under new business, I need a motion to adopt resolution 2018/2019-16 to accept a $100 donation from American Legion Auxiliary for backpack program.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second that.
Bertram, second by Lyon. Any discussion?
Thank you.
Thank you as well. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Need a motion and a second to adopt Resolution 2018/2019-17 to accept $500 donation from Rotary Club of Baudette for Beyond the Bell program.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion by Bertram, second by Lyon. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. I need a motion and a second to adopt Resolution 2018/2019-18 to accept $300 donation from My Best Logging. I don't know if I said that, I say that right? Okay. For Ticket to Read program.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Ellis,
Second.
second by Lyon. Any discussion?
I want to thank her personally for doing that.
Yeah.
Yep, thank you. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. I need a motion and a second to adopt Resolution 2018/2019-19 to accept $100 donation from the Margie Berg for the Ticket to Read program.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion by Ellis, second by Lyon. Discussion?
Thanking her also. It's a good program.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Need a motion and a second to adopt Resolution 2018/2019-20 to accept $400 donation from Howard Senex for the Ticket to Read program.
Make the motion.
Motion by Bertram,
I'll second.
second by Ellis. Any discussion? Thank you to Senex.
Yeah, here you go, Howard.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Need a motion and a second to adopt Resolution 2018/2019-21 to accept a $50 donation from the VFW Auxiliary for the Ticket to Read program.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Trask,
Second.
second by Lyon. Any discussion? Thank you to the VFW Auxiliary. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Need a motion and a second to adopt Resolution 2018/2019-22 to accept $200 donation from Whitefish Creek Incorporated for the Ticket to Read program.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Ellis,
Second.
second by Bertram. Any discussion?
Having lots of dollars going to the Ticket to Read program, is that unusual, or is that pretty well-funded program?
We sent out letters and asking for donations for this spring's book fair, so that the kids can all get their tickets.
And this is, I think,
Any kid?
the second or third month where we've seen quite a few
Yeah.
donations.
From Head Start, all the way through 6th grade gets a $5 coupon. So we've got enough for that.
This is to replace, Mrs. Ma used to do fundraisers all year long to support this. Well, she's no longer able to do that because she's not working here. But we want to keep the program running, so Cindy put the letter together, her and Tracy, and they're running the program. And so this is to replace the funding that Mrs. Mine did on her own.
And Marilyn is also still, she made some beautiful choppers that she's raffling off, and then she also made a quilt. So she will give us another donation too, I'm sure, but we just didn't want to see it die. So.
Excellent, good job.
Yeah, nice job. The community comes out, don't
They
they,
do.
when you ask? I
They
mean, I
really
was
do.
thinking of the backpack program too, when we said, oh, we need a little more solvency there, and they jump right out at it, so thank you.
Cindy's our new moneymaker, and does a good job.
Good cause.
Any further discussion? In that case, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. I need a motion and a second to approve the 2020 to 2000 through 2022 Achievement and Integration Plan.
I'd make that motion.
I'll second that.
By line, second by
Lynette?
what, Ellis? Okay. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, same sign. Motion passes. All right, I need a motion and a second to approve requests from the
Wait, you
superintendent.
skipped over aye.
Did I? Nope, that is, according to mine, this is aye.
Oh, there's another, there's a Harmon Place
Harmon
lease
lease-
agreement is on I. on
The
this
one that was on our tape, or on the
Right at the
table.
bottom.
Okay. Yep, the crib sheet led me astray.
Yeah,
Okay, going with this letter I need a motion and a second to approve the lease agreement with Harmon Places Properties.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Burcham,
second.
second by Lyon. Discussion?
How'd it work out today? First day, wasn't it?
Okay, good, yep. A little more people in there than last year, but it'll work.
How many kids you put through?
We've got 12.
Wow, that's crowded. Crowded tee box, gotta like that.
Take turns.
Anybody hit the ball?
It's a little tricky on your team for a couple of them yet. They'll get it. We got a couple weeks to do this yet. But then they'll have it figured out.
All right, so did we do everything with that one? We voted yet? No, we're still in discussion.
We need to vote.
Okay, so, no, we did a motion in a second.
Yep.
You have a
Yep.
motion, a second.
Okay, any more discussion? Nope. In that case, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Item J, I need a motion and a second to approve a request from the Superintendent Nelson to work as a watercraft inspector.
Make a motion.
I'll second it.
Motion by Lyon, second by Burcham. Discussion?
Jeff, when do you think you're gonna be starting that?
No idea.
Work
Sometime
the-
around over. It doesn't sound like they're gonna do much with the river fishing.
Right.
That could change, so. I will let you know when that starts.
Who's-
There's 1 day of training that I'll have to take a vacation day. I know that is. So, I will keep you posted.
And who's that paycheck coming from?
It's.
The DNR or the
Oh,
Coast Guard
Always
Auxiliary?
their staffing.
It's always their staffing.
Yeah.
But it's.
They have a
funded through
contract
the
with
Funded through
the county?
county
Soil and Water
and
District.
soil, Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Mike first is kind of in charge of that.
Yeah. And the money does come from the state.
Okay.
It sounds like zebra mussels are headed our way, or they're already here.
Crawling up Highway 172 right now as we speak.
Big Fork River's got them,
Oh, okay,
which flows
That's
right
done.
into here.
yeah.
I was hoping the climate would keep them at bay.
But,
Darn it.
So, all right, in that case, we've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. I need a motion and a second to approve the service contract with N Entertainment for 2019 prom DJ services. And as I recall, it was what, $900?
1,100 in the long run, wasn't it? 900 and then 200.
Um,
Wait a minute, we need a
we're
motion
paying
and a second
for-
first.
We're paying for 900, but then they are getting money from the Women of Today for $200, so.
Guess I got ahead of myself there too with
I'll
the
make a motion.
discussion. Motion by Lyon,
I'll second.
second by Trask. Now we can talk about it some more. Any more discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And all opposed, same sign. Motion passes. And at this point, I know we've already gone through and with Reed's resignation, but I'd like to offer thanks, at least on my behalf, for all your hard work and intelligent decisions and good strategy.
I think the condition of this facility is a big thanks to Reed's efforts and vision and keeping us going in the right direction, so we will be sorely missed.
How long you been working with him?
25 years.
Thank you, Reed.
Yep.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Were you the original one for this building?
No.
Trying to think of the
Mike
map.
Mike Mitchell came over for the move.
But you're the first combo.
Right.
Yeah.
And then we were like $300,000 in the red, and we had to figure out a way of balancing it. So we combined the two positions, buildings, grounds, and transportation, to cut
Not balanced it.
a job.
You've worn many hats and you've worn them well.
Thank you, guys. I enjoyed working here. I will enjoy retirement.
Well, you're still 6 months away.
Yeah.
We could have another new motion or something.
Right. We could drag you back in.
I wanted to stay here, so we get 2 months into the new school year, and I'll be able to, whoever's taking over transportation, I'll be able to allow them to ride all the routes and do the reviews of the employees and stuff, so they get started out on a positive foot, and the new school year will have started, and
Appreciate that very much.
Yeah.
it's right before deer season.
You read my mind. I knew there was a November there or something.
So,
Thank you again.
Yeah.
all right, on that note, we will be going into our closed session, labor negotiation strategy pursuant to Minnesota 13, or MS 13.D.03 subdivision 1.